eagle, and then the rifle was made out of wood and been carved as a perfect duplication of a German rifle. And what they did, they had this man who looked like one of the Germans that came into the camp. He was just a spitting image. He could have been twins. It was remarkable. And they did this, had him wear this uniform with the necessary documents. When this other man that looked like him, a German, came into camp, this guy and I think 15 or 20 others went up to the gate, they showed their document. The German let him through because he had the regular documents, and he had a rifle, and he assumed he was authentic, and went out the gate. And so we had 21 out there, but they were allowed to lose about half a day.
There were very few escape attempts. If you wanted to make an escape, we had a panel of men that we'd have to go to get and present your plan and let them comment on it. And they'd either tell you no, or if they gave their okay, they'd give you all the help that they could with uniforms and that sort of thing. The only one I know that even tried was a fella. I don't even think that he got the permission from this panel, but I knew he was going, and he donned a white sheet of some kind, and it was snow on the ground, and he sneaked out of the barracks, which we weren't allowed outside at night, of course. And they had, all around the camp, they had the searchlights going, and they were searching back and forth, and they saw him, I'm sure, because they would go up one side with the searchlights, then it'd go down the other, and then they'd watch him move, and then they'd run the searchlight, never across his body. But he was itching his way to the fence, and I don't know what he was going to do when he hit the fence, but because there's 2 rows of fences with barbed wire in between. So he had a very poor plan. They let him go on for 3 or 4 hours, I guess, laying out there in the snow. Finally, they went out and got him.
Well, we were digging this tunnel, you see, and we're digging it. And the Polish Jews used to come in with a honey bucket to pump out the latrines, pump out the toilets. And we were going so far along with our tunnel, and the honey bucket weighed a lot of weight, and our tunnel wasn't far enough down, and so it collapsed. And there was, the Germans, as they go crazy when things like this happen, it's just almost first losing their tunnel, crazy, yelling and screaming. I mean, that's one thing. If you wanted to get a German's attention in those days, you just yelled at him. It doesn't matter whether you're a POW or not, but he's a German, and you yell at him, you got to have his attention right away. You just got to yell, and you have his attention. But anyway, the honey bucket went over this thing, and that was the end of our tunnel. You move a lot of sand. What the hell do you do with it, you see? That was the big problem, getting rid of sand. I mean, it's awful. Talk about logistics. But it was done, and we got rid of it. But Bert and I were just the moles. We were the diggers, In North Camp, the Great Escape, they had electricity down tunnels. They had a railroad for the things. Well, we just had sleds, and we had we used to get lots of margarine. And instead of oil lamp, we'd have margarine lamp. It'd burn. It'd be a stinky thing, but it'd burn. But I would throw the sand behind for Bert, and he would put it on in and pull it to the cord, and away they'd go. No, it was a lot of fun. And of course, it was interesting to do. There wasn't much else to do. Well, there were other things to do. We played basketball, played games, but tunneling was our fort.
This guy built a vaulting horse out of an old Red Cross parcel box, and they put him in that thing, and then they hauled him out near the perimeter of the fence, and then he started digging, and then after he got through digging a certain length of time, he put the dirt up into the vaulting horse, crawled up into it, and closed off where he started his tunnel and camouflage it, and then they'd take it back into someplace and dispose of the sand. Next day, he'd do the same thing. And he'd keep digging. After he'd gone so far, they'd put him down there. He'd go out, he'd go into this tunnel, and they'd close it up. And he'd start digging. And as he dug, he pushed the dirt back behind him like a mole. And this guy made it. he moled out and escaped and got back to England.
One night, the guards came in on Rouse, you know, and we packed up everything we could, and we broke up bed slats and made sled, our crew did, made a sled and put all we could on that, you know. And as we left the gate, they opened the warehouse full of Red Cross parcels, and we took all of those that we could hold. So the first day or two, we did pretty well for eating. We had heard about this death march, you know, in Bataan. We thought it was comparable, but of course it wasn't. But it was bad. The cold was the worst, and the hunger. They were moving all the air officers down south to be for Hitler's retreat, and we were going to be hostages. That was the story anyway, and I guess it was true, because that's where we ended up, down in Moosburg, which is very close to Munich. And there we were in huge big tents, a couple hundred in a tent, you know. It was just packed, one body after another. Patton's troops came in, the tanks and all. We heard those rumbling up a couple of days before they came. And the guards there are all vacated. They left the gates open and all. And then the tanks came in, and it was real thrill to get liberated.
The orders were out, and that all came from Hitler, that all POWs were to be eliminated rather than be given back. The whole idea was, if they had enough hostages prior, they could strike a better deal on a surrender, but if they didn't make the surrender, then the guards were to use their machine guns and wipe out as many as they could. And a few of them tried that at the camp that morning. Anyway, where we were, we could look across at a field, and we finally heard tank rumbling, which was a nice sound. And they were the ones that came to the front gate and pushed the fence and the gates and everything down, and the hearsay was that Patton himself, which we knew was there, had come in and saw how badly these guys looked, and it made him mad, so he says, let's go get the sons of bitches.
Our camp was bypassed we were up on the Baltic, and our camp was bypassed by the Russian troops, and we were left in a pocket up there by ourselves. And the Germans took off, left us there, and these two Russians came in the middle of the night, and they wore fez hats and had air-cooled submachine guns slung across them, and they came to liberate us. Then, of course, right away the rest of the horde came, and we were under the Mongols for a couple of weeks before the crack troops came back and restored order.
I got down to a little town called Gamelsdorf, and I could hear the artillery. I could hear 105s or whatever they were, 155s, and I knew the Americans were coming. And I said, geez, I'm just going to stay here. I'm not going to. And we were told the next morning we were going to go into the permanent camp. And then the capper was, when that was the day that we were told by laughing Germans that Roosevelt is dead. Roosevelt ist tot. Ha ha. You know,